Thank you.
All right, I would like to welcome everybody to our presentation. I know it's 9 a.m., but I would appreciate if you paid attention. I think the topic is really important and I will tell you why. Next slide, please. So to give you an abstract, what can you expect from this presentation? So we will be talking about artificial intelligence in recruiting and selection process. And artificial intelligence is playing increasingly important role in our everyday life. It has not only reached us in our personal life through the form of smart assistants. You can think, for example, of Siri, but it also affects us in the way we work and the way we apply for our jobs. As the importance of AI will only increase in the future, we want to use this project to teach people more about the usage of AI in HRM recruitment and selection processes. We did a literature research. We also conducted survey, and we are able to provide you guys with an overview about the most common technologies and application areas in the field of HRM. And with our research, we also try to highlight the fact that many job candidates still seem to be very wary of AI. And that's something that companies should be aware of when using artificial assistance in the recruiting process by clearly communicating the purpose and value for every party involved. So our agenda, we will introduce the topic. We will talk about methodology, about literature research, our findings, and about our survey findings. And then we will talk about the conclusion we made. So for the topic introduction, why is the topic important? Because technology is expanding. It's expanding every day, also the ongoing globalization. It brings a lot of possibilities to the working environment as well, and better AI functions and more applicants from around the world because of globalization. And there is an increasing use of AI in the personal selection process. So it's a topic that's relevant and rapidly advancing, and it's becoming more important for everybody, as it will change the way companies hire their employees and also change the way how employees work. So both HRM managers and applicants need to be aware what technologies are being used, and they need to be able to prepare for possible future encounters with an AI. And also important point in this topic is if applicants are accepting the use of AI, which is important for a successful hiring process, and both sides need to know what can be done better. We already talked about it a lot of times. The employees who are applying should be familiar with what should they expect on the interview, and companies should explain it to them accordingly. Next slide, please. So recruitment and selection. Recruitment deals with the coverage of personal requirement. It's a basic task to supply the company with qualitative labor in line with the recruitments and at the lowest cost possible, of course. And selection is describing the decision on filling a vacant position. So basically, company recruits people and then they choose who is the most adequate candidate for the position. So once the recruitment process has been initiated with the selection of suitable recruitment channel and the first applications have been received, the second step is to make the right personal selection by analyzing and talking to possible candidates. So in the original understanding, both tasks are performed by a human recruiter. However, for some time now, more and more functions have been taken over by artificial intelligence systems. For example, pre-screening and pre-selecting. Pre-screening is where AIs are sorting portfolios and encourage individuals to apply for the job. We saw that on LinkedIn a lot. It's the way they send you the suitable positions for you. And pre-selecting is where AIs identify suitable job applications. They conduct and analyze interviews and evaluate the candidates. We also talked about this because companies are getting a lot of resumes, so the company needs to go through it quickly. If a human was about to go through that, he would probably go crazy. And to learn out more about possible areas of application, we will now take a closer look at our research findings, and I will talk about methodology real quick. So for literature research, we conducted our literature research in the high quality research database Scopus and got over 10 valuable and recent articles that gave us important insight for our research. Scopus, every journal in the Scopus database is pre-reviewed before being published to ensure the high quality of the research. So it's a trusted research, we could say, trusted resource. And for the survey, we asked both HRM recruiters as well as employees and potential candidates about their experience with AI in recruiting and selection. We reached out to them through LinkedIn, as I already said, and also used personal connections and promised anonymity. And in total, we received 2 answers from recruiters in early 30s and 10 answers from regular employees and acquaintances who were aged from 15 to 29. And Pia will talk to you guys about our literature findings. Thank you.
Yes, so first to take a look what we found out. We found out about e-recruitment, which uses social media to basically find out who is good for a job and to also attract potential job applicants to keep them interested while they're being recruited. Then there's e-selection that facilitates the online employment testing. We heard about both words before. So what we really saw in the literature is that artificial intelligence is able to do a lot in the human resource management process. So it's able to scan resumes, assess the behavior and values of a candidate. So it's not only analyzing the CV, but also the behavior and the voice, the facial expression of the candidate. There's a lot possible already. So with this, it is able to provide actual feedback to the recruiters about if a candidate is suitable for the job or not. Next slide, please. We also found out that there are several technologies called chatbots that are able to interact as a virtual and autonomous artificial intelligence with the possible candidate. So they can not only reach out to people and inform them about a possible job application that they might be interested in, but they're also able to actively answer the question, which is really helpful for the candidate as well, because they're basically available 24/7 in all possible languages. So this is something that the candidates should really look out for. In addition to that, we found out that companies all over the world are starting to use AI in the recruitment and selection process. So one thing we found very interesting was, for example, WeChat recruiting in China, which basically allows jobs or job candidates to review, apply, and even share jobs among themselves. We also found out about other applications in Asia and the Middle East, which was called DBC's Gym, which basically reviews CVs. It also asks questions, and it even is able to conduct psychometric assessments. Of course, that's not very normal yet because it's more of a psychological assessment, but it really shows what is possible already. We also found out about HireView, which analyzes basically video interviews by reading the facial expression And we learned about Presire, which analyzes the languages in video and telephone interviews. And what we found interesting here was that it basically was more interested in how a voice sounds and connotation of the voice compared to what the candidate is actually saying. Next slide, please. Okay, so we also tried to find out about the changes in human resource management that are being done through the AI. So we saw that it is able to broaden the applicant pool by basically actively searching for applicants. Not only is it able to find applicants through huge geographical distances, but it's also reaching passive job applicants that maybe didn't even know that they were searching for a new job or were too lazy to start looking. It's also good to optimize the process of recruitment and selection because it reduces the time and also the cost of the recruitment process. And one thing that's always being said is that it eliminates human biases, which is controversial because it, of course, works with the training data that it's been fed with. So there could be possible biases in there, but it's still a lot more consistent and objective than a human recruiter. Okay, so lastly, with our literature, we also focused on the user acceptance side. And that was very interesting because we found a study about participants of an e-recruiting study, and they said that the overall online recruitment process experience was very positive, but they said that they felt like the offline recruitment procedures felt fairer. They also said that a negative point was the reduction of the human influence on the decision, but they liked that it reduced possible biases and was more consistent, like we already talked about earlier. Lastly, they also said that if the recruitment feels like they have intrinsic benefits from using AI, so like they're more likely to actually get the job, they are more likely to apply for the job and feel more positive about the AI experience in general. Okay, so this concludes our literature findings. Before we summarize all of this, we thought it would be interesting to first talk about our survey findings to better compare both sides in the end. So I'm going to start with this too, but not too long. First, we interviewed HRM managers, and we tried to basically find out more about their experience and thoughts about AI. And only one of the two recruiters that we talked to had used AI in the recruitment and selection process before. The manager who used AI was or is still part of a medium-sized company with multiple locations in Europe. And they told us that they integrate AI in the company 3 years ago. But at the moment, the AI is only pre-sorting applications from suitable candidates in the company's very own job portal. So the recruiter said that she doesn't really have contact to the AI, and the selection process is still fully done by the human recruiters. The other manager had not used AI. He was part of a small Western company, and he basically said that the organization does not use AI yet because they have a low numbers of employees and also not many applicants. So it's just not necessary now. Okay, so during our survey, both managers agreed that they do not think that they will be completely replaced by an artificial intelligence in the near future, because they basically think that humans would always prefer to work with other humans. And they say that they see a lot of advantages of AI in human resource management because it's a great help with time-consuming jobs. And it's also very modern, which basically means that it attracts highly qualified personnel. The disadvantages that they could think of were that many people were still unfamiliar or even afraid of AI. So they were actually afraid of losing some good candidates. And the manager who had not worked with AI yet was afraid that it was possibly very costly to integrate due to the necessary changes within the organization. So only the manager who actually worked with AI before stated to be able to at least superficially explain the decision process of the AI, and both wished for more preparation about the work with artificial intelligence in the future. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, thanks. To sum this up, we basically tried to compare the Human Resource Manager survey and our literature findings, and we found out that both managers stated that in their experience, the use of AI in human resource management is closely related to the size of the company. So they always said that big firms are using it already and small firms are not. The literature research did not explicitly support this thought because, well, none of the articles really mentioned it, but it might be a possible correlation. We just didn't find it yet. The literature also suggested that the most common use of artificial intelligence in human resource management is pre-sorting, scanning, and also the use of chatbots to interact and engage with customers, and that it's also able to conduct interviews and analyze candidates. But compared to that, the survey really suggested that most firms are not really using the selection stage yet, but are rather focusing on recruiting with chatbots and pre-sorting and assessing of the CVs. But they both said that this might change in the near future as technology gets better and more known. So both managers and the literature agreed that most recruiters are not afraid to be replaced by an AI, as they think that the AI is basically only taking over certain parts of the job and cannot replace the human aspects. So with this, I'm going to give over to Jean, who talks more about the candidate experience of the survey.
We surveyed about the applicants' acceptance of AI. With the survey, we tried to find out more about the thoughts and experience of possible applicants. The 10 people who were surveyed were aged 15 to 29 and were both Europeans and Asians. One candidate shared his experience about the phone interview with an AI and described it as a weird and impersonal, as it seemingly did not feel like a serious interview. And another interviewee said that the company had tried to recruit him via chatbot through a social media platform, Facebook, before. Most of the people we surveyed had either no experience with AI or were not even aware of such technologies. So to summarize our findings, to summarize our survey, advantage of AI in HRM would be more people can be interviewed. AI is not biased. Some people couldn't think of advantages. Disadvantages of AI would be feeling less appreciated. AI is not empathetic and cannot be judged human nature and values. Even though 60% stated that they would trust an AI to make fair decision, only 10% would choose an AI over a human recruiter. Some people stated that they trusted AI as they worked with data and facts and relied less on empathy. Others shared this as a possible concern and explained that especially empathy is often needed to really judge if a person or a job environment are suitable. Another popular opinion is that an AI is good at sorting out people with the necessary recruitment, but they should not judge anything beyond that. Any percent explained that they would go to an AI interview to gain experience and take their chances with new technology. And 20% fear the interview would fail due to their inexperience with AIs. One person complained about not being able to connect with the AI on a personal level during the interview. Do you think you could accept a rejection from an AI. Even though 30% agreed that they would accept a rejection, almost all participants emphasized that they would feel more regrets than with the human recruiter and would want an explanation. So by comparing applicant survey and the literature findings, we could conclude that in total, the results were mixed, but the majority seemed very skeptical about AI in the recruitment, which is consistent with our findings from the literature. Most of the people we surveyed had little to no experience with AI in the job application process, and thus only reflected their personal opinions. The result of both the survey and the literature review, literature research suggests that applicants are willing to accept the AI if they think they can profit from it, but are very wary when there is a chance of getting rejected. It was also noticeable that compared to the HRM managers, most applicants were not able to really list many advantages of AI in HRM. So what do we learn? AI is already very present in both the recruitment and selection of applicants, as it is actively helping recruiters to sort through a big amount of applicants, finds suitable candidates, takes over the role of the interviewer or an analyst, and thus makes the personal procurement much more time efficient and less costly. Many recruiters are already aware of these changes and are positively welcoming them. Applicants, on the other hand, are less trusting in the intelligence system as they often do not understand the procedure or the advantage they could gain from it. So we would like to suggest companies that are planning to use AI have to be aware of possible trust issues. It is very important to communicate how the technology works and, more importantly, how applicants can profit from it. For example, better experience for candidates due to chatbot 24/7, help chat in all languages, and AI decisions are more consistent. We need to make sure that they know AI decisions are more consistent in objectives. Also, AI sourcing, less waste of talent. Sometimes people don't even know they are looking for a better job. We need to make sure that applicants who want to apply to a job that is using AI should inform themselves which technologies are used and how to prepare for the interview. So if both parties learn more about the technology, it can be very beneficial to everyone. So we hope to have provided a good basis to get more familiar with AI. So those are the references we have used for the literature review, for the selection of our topics. They are from the Scopius. They are all Scopius articles over. We have more than 10 reliable Scopius sources. So if you would like to have any questions or comments or feedback about our presentation, please feel free to do that.
Yeah. Okay, maybe did everybody understand what we tried? I already saw Professor Sean waving his hand.
Only 4? Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, any comments? Maybe Linda, or I don't know who else is in the class.
Yes.
Yeah.
So firstly, thank you for your presentation. Thanks to your project, we understand the way it works. Now we are aware of how AI is used. But I have a question about it. Does AI promote diversity in the modern day workplace?
Yes, I would think so, because yeah, it basically does not look at ethnicity or skin color, but it searches applicants from all around the world. So I think it would be beneficial for a better or a more diverse workplace, but then it's probably also always, yeah, it probably also always depends on what the company is searching for. If they're only searching for a specific person in a specific area, then it's the same as a human recruiter. So
I would like to add something. The diversification in the workplace, it's an ongoing topic in Europe. So I think the AI is not yet suitable for that. But as soon as this diversification, the quotas and everything they are planning to do, I think after that AI would be able to make the workplace more diverse.
Can you comment? Can you clarify that last statement you made, Andre? You were saying that people in a certain area in Europe are trying to have more diversity. And so did you say that is why they feel using AI is not appropriate, even though AI can find people from minority backgrounds or diverse backgrounds maybe faster and more efficiently than humans?
What I wanted to say is that the companies don't know yet how to do the diversification because the European Union, they are kind of working it out right now. So nothing is clear yet. So there's no really a way for them to.
It's just related to the laws. The government laws saying you have to do something
Yes,
clear. So because the government laws are not clear, the companies haven't figured out how to do it. So
exactly.
I'm not saying that the software is not good or not ready. It's just the people are not ready.
yeah, so the software is already doing most of, I think the software is already really trying to gain more diversity because it's looking from people all over the world. But as Andre said, most companies are not really focused on it yet.
Okay. I don't want to talk yet, but I can't control myself. Please make sure you get several other classmates to comment, many other classmates, and of course get grades, things like that. But what I want to point out is that I think I heard from Jung Moon, you guys love this AI, you love the benefits, you see that there are many possible benefits. Period. I think there's no question if that's what you guys, you researchers are saying. However, you also have identified most people don't use it and don't see the advantage. But can I be a terrible, terrible person and just draw the conclusion? Is it because people are stupid and people don't know the latest and greatest technologies, so they don't yet understand they should be using it? Is that?
Yeah, we didn't want to say it that bluntly. We would just rather say that they're not very informed yet because it hasn't been really a topic in the large mass media yet. So many people that we interviewed didn't even know that it was used for job application. So we really want to empathize that companies should tell their recruits about it all to prevent fear and trust issues.
I'm going to be quiet for a few minutes, talk to some of your classmates, maybe get some more reviews. Guillaume Lecard, can you give an evaluation and suggestions for modification?
Yeah, I think they have so many scopus and references. And I think it was really, really good for a project, for a big project. So the project is more professionals, and I think it's okay for my comments. And I have to give you a mark.
Yes, please. I would like to hear 3 comments to consider for improvement and a mark. Yes.
I think for Mark, I will give 20 on 20 because I think it's a better project of our class.
At a 20, okay. However, they are not AI yet. They are not the ultimate brain or God or Allah or whatever you want to say. So could you suggest they consider for making revisions for next semester if they're going to do it? What are some suggestions for improvement or consideration?
I don't really have suggestions.
Can't make any comments. Okay, what about you guys, yeah, and Jomon and Andre, do you guys want to select your reviewers?
Yeah, maybe Tobias has some constructive criticism for us.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to say that I really liked your presentation. I think it was really informative and nice. And I especially like how, yeah, like everything was like very organized in terms of science project. So it was like a very trustworthy project, I think. And yeah, and especially I liked your literature review as you were going really into detail there, and you really displayed that very well. But what I didn't really like was like the layout of your presentation, especially sometimes it was like pretty hard for me because I started to read the stuff myself because there was so much text on the slides that I just started reading, and I realized that I wasn't really paying attention to what you're saying, so that was a problem maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's a scientific project, so I mean, display is not really the biggest part, but it's still maybe considerable. And another thing that I wanted to ask is if you could maybe display more problems or disadvantages of AI, because you only concentrated on the perception of the interviewees, but are there anything like disadvantages for the employers actually or something? Because I didn't really hear about that.
I think one of the HRM managers, they replied that implementing AI would be costly for the company. So I would see that as a disadvantage for the employer, but in long term, it could be saving them money. You know, it's really, it depends on what the company actually needs. We also heard that some companies, they don't have a lot of employees, so they don't really need the AI recruitment. So I think this is different case by case, the disadvantages and advantages for the employer side.
Yeah, I would also say, even though the two that we interviewed weren't really afraid of being replaced, I think some people might fear what changes in their job because they're doing what they have always been done. And yeah, people don't always like changes. So I think that's really something that we also need to focus on to get all recruiters on board and to not let them be afraid and just say, you have to do it like this now. And I also maybe think, because like Andre already said, that some people are afraid it's costly. Maybe it's a problem if big companies or more companies are using AI in their recruiting process, that small companies really feel the pressure to also include it in their recruitment and selection process to not seem outdated. So I think that might be also a problem for companies or recruiters.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
So anybody else have any questions?
Yes. If I can evaluate you guys. For me, that was a very good presentation. Maybe the best I've ever seen in this class. And so that's why I will put you 20 on 20. Because in your presentation, there was a lot of details, and the fact that you put many texts on your slide was very good thing for me, because I could follow you, and I learned some new things, and that was good for me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Can we get anybody to help give some more suggestions for improvement?
Yes, actually, yes. I mean, I really liked your presentation, first of all. And just as Zachary said, I think overall I put like something like 80 or 90 out of 20. But I was just wondering, because I didn't see you talking about any headhunter in the job seeking system. You know, this kind of person that like plenty looks for people to fill up jobs they need, like people that are top qualified for their education. And do you think that in any way that AI could help them to find their job?
Yeah, since AI is actively seeking for new employees, job hunters or headhunters would probably be one of the specific groups that could possibly be replaced in the future. So yeah, that's a very interesting topic. Thank you for bringing attention to it. But yeah, I think at the moment they are basically using it to broaden or to reach out to more people, or to and broaden the applicant pool.
Rather general than specific then. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I also thank you so much for the very easy to understandable presentation, and the PPT is very good to follow. So Thomas, was it Thomas? So well, I also was tending to mention about the headhunter, because I noticed that some headhunter so also apply to the company, also apply AIs for the first stage of attracting the applicants, and also for the first stage of the selection. But I still consider that whether it has any difference between, I mean, the technical jobs and the service jobs. Are there any difference? Because I have no idea, and I haven't found out that yet. So in the survey, so whether you notice that the participants come from the different area of the jobs, do they have did they mention any whether you found out any difference I don't know, among different types of jobs? So technical jobs and the service jobs.
Not in particular, but during the literature research, it seemed like it was more focused on office jobs with high requests to the position. So it really focused on the individual tasks on the CV. So I assume that technical jobs are less focused because an AI can't really judge if you're a good mechanic or not. So I think this is definitely a part that isn't as used yet, but maybe in the future they can see how good you are at putting together a car. That's a very interesting topic, to be honest.
Yeah.
We also got one more comment from Azadbek to say that we could ask maybe more questions during our presentations if everybody understood. We actually planned to do that, but we forgot. So thank you for the feedback.
Okay, if no other students are going to comment, I can't hold myself back too much longer. I have made several notes. One thing maybe I made a mistake, but I thought I did not hear you list names of the AI software or apps. So I didn't hear what was the most popular, like Microsoft or Google, the app name, so people could use. Did you actually recommend those, or were you, again, just focused on the various functions of any type of app?
Wait, maybe this slide. So we didn't really mention many names. We only mentioned those that we actively found in the literature research. And that was one, for example, WeChat recruiting in China, which is very popular and which is actively used by applicants. But of course, it only focuses on the Chinese market. So that's definitely not something that we recommend for Europeans or North Americans. And then we also had the DBC company that has the AI recruiter Jim. But this is something also Helview and Presaya, those are mostly artificial intelligences that are used by the companies and not really, so we don't really recommend them for the applicants. So yes, we actually didn't find out much about names of technology companies, for example, that provide these kind of technologies. So yeah, that was hard for us.
Are the main ones that you heard of?
Yes.
Another question I had is exactly related to what you're just pointing here. WeChat is not the name of an app directly that you're talking about. It's the huge, like Google in China. You were saying that they are promoting, or they have some app that allows applicants to basically nominate or select or vote for other applicants. Do you have any other details about that? Because that sounds very, very interesting. It sounds like it would really help HR in some ways, but at the same time, in some countries, perhaps like Germany and Canada, there's a big privacy issue. Would you allow your application to be viewed by other applicants? Whoever says yes, obviously it might be good. You can trust that person. That would be a good thing, but it may be privacy issues. Did you have any more information about that?
Sadly, not that much, because it was only a small part of the article. But the way I understood it, it's basically the AI reaches out to the people through WeChat, and then they can share the jobs and, like you said, CVs. But that's a very good point. I don't think it will work this way in other parts of the world, especially Germany, for example. They are very aggressive when it comes to data protection. So this is really something that's a problem.
In Germany, do they also allow people a small box? I allow the use of my information to be open for other purposes. Like in Canada, it's usually a small box at the bottom when people are taking surveys, but it says that you don't want your information shared. You don't want anybody to email you junk email, or it allows other people to use your information for other purposes.
Yeah, it's often like this, but it's mostly to use it for internal purposes, or maybe share it with other companies, but it's never really, I agree to have my data shown to the whole world. So it's very private, and there are a lot of laws that are really restricting this.
Okay. Before I go on asking more questions, I just wanted to check, is there anybody else that wanted to share if there is anyone else that wants to share your presentation, or at least start getting suggestions for improvement, please share it now, or start giving some of your presentation now, and you can finish next class, even if you're not finished yet. If you guys are interested, start speaking up, and I will be quiet. I find
I have some students like Jazz Maza.
Yeah.
Yes. So we have listening to a group presenting. So do you have any suggestion for this group?
No, the
three questions or comments for them?
No, the presentation was very clear, and to know how the company want to improve the management and how they want to recruit the future employees. I don't know if we can say this, but anyway, and it was very interesting. So I have no question.
Are you curious to know some things from the group, the researchers?
If
Nope.
you have points, thanks for asking, Tuong. I have a couple of things that I found a little bit confusing in your presentation. I thought I heard part of your presentation at the beginning saying that the people using the AI found there wasn't much benefit in it. You then went on, and I believe your conclusion was that everybody should use AI. There's lots of benefits. So can you combine those two? Why?
Yeah.
What did you mean by that when some people don't see benefit and yet there
Oh,
are?
maybe that was a little bit confusing. So we said that most recruiters or companies who are using artificial intelligence see a lot of benefits because it's time saving for them and cost saving, and they have more time to focus on other tasks. But what we saw is from the applicant side, they don't really understand what the benefits for them are. So they only see why the company is using it, but they don't know why they should care. So we try to point out that what possible advantages are, like better experience for candidates with chatbots, more consistency and objectiveness during the interview. So we basically concluded that the applicants need to be made more aware of their many advantages that they could gain, so that both parties really appreciate AI more for what they could get from it. Is that more clear?
Yes, thank you. So it was just the applicants not seeing the advantage versus the people with the corporate backing, people with the resources to learn the best. They know, and they're starting to use that.
Yep.
Also like to point out that I have already messed up your presentation. I'm not sure if you noticed the last two slides, you now have our graffiti from me. I've added something to what I saw was your notes, and it shows if maybe it hasn't updated on yours yet, but I can show on my files. This is your presentation. You can see this, but at the end, I've added two different files here. This is coming from this presentation where I was actually at a conference that was talking exactly about this, how companies and specifically HRM or human capital management is using technology, specifically the AI. And one of the things that was discussed is the idea of several different names of companies, like Zai is one company that does this. ClearFit is another company that does this. However, these are generally old. This comes from a reliable source, Forbes, but it is pretty dated. So if anybody is interested, you can check this. It's at the end of your presentation. Another sort of personal question is, since you guys have been researching this quite a bit, can you identify what are the top advantages of using this AI with companies, given that not everyone has $1 billion budget? So is there, you have said AI speeds up sourcing, but, or sorry, AI speeds up filtering. but is there other things, for example, how AI can track down some unknown person on the other side of the planet that isn't looking for a job, find out about them and introduce the job to them to help companies scout? Do you know what are the leading advantages of AI so far, other than just basic sorting?
Well, I would say that they are able to always help due to chatbots. So they're always available. They're always reaching out to people. For example, I had what I think was a robot reach out to me via LinkedIn, and he basically just said, hey, here's a job offer, and if you're interested, you can click on it and look at it. So it's really good for reaching out to applicants who maybe not search for a job.
And did you also say that LinkedIn is new to you, and so that you weren't really using it before, and yet it still identified you were interested and introduced some job to you? Is that right?
Yes, definitely.
So you are not a popular user, you're not an active job seeker, and yet you have a little bit of interest and they still introduce something to you. Was that job a little bit of a fit? Was it attractive to you?
Yes, it was a sales manager, so they got the management part right. But other than that, not so much, but I understand why they sent me this request.
That's interesting. Hopefully everybody is aware of that. And again, I just wanted to clarify, you said only 1 in 5 HR managers used AI, and yet it's not growing. It doesn't seem to be popularly promoted by many people yet, except the top of the top firms that on their own, top firms or top companies that go looking to learn, they use it, but it doesn't seem like many people are actually promoting it. So why do you think that is? Why do you think it's only 1 in 5 managers are using this AI or even talking about it? What is slowing it down if it seems so good?
Well, I can answer that again. I don't know if my group mates want to come in, but I think because it was so new, the big companies basically started to develop their own programs or search for technologies on their own. So it wasn't really available for the big market yet for smaller firms. So I think that's something that kind of blocked other people from using it. But if there are more common technologies provided by, for example, LinkedIn for the broader masses, I think it will really help to, give more companies the chance and the opportunity to use it on a daily basis. But I think, the technological aspects really were a problem for now.
Also, I believe that in order to have a AI recruitment system, they need to invest some money. But the small company, they don't feel any needs to have this and spend the money for this system, because they don't have to spend too much money for finding out among the other many people, because they only have less applicants comparing with the big companies, so they don't feel the needs for having this AI recruitment system.
Okay, thank you. There are 2 things that I heard recently, and again, it was related to a big conference that had a lot of activity from India. India was saying, number 1, most of their main companies, most of the big S&P type companies are using technology in HR. They are using AI type programs in HR already. The second thing, they were saying that although some people say it might be expensive, they in India, the users didn't find it expensive at all for 2 reasons. One, a lot of the developers were very small people, and they weren't trying to charge millions of dollars to use it. It was actually very affordable. Number two, a lot of the AI programs, especially for searching for new candidates or finding that diverse hire or scouting new potential employees, those were available for free. And only if the company employed the person that was introduced by that software, then that software took a small percentage of that new applicant's earnings. So it's actually, in many ways, still free or very affordable. Hopefully that helps. Has anybody else outside of your group of 3 people, have you guys heard of the HR technology like we're talking about today? It's obviously important. We are wrapping up a whole semester talking about HR, and I am definitely biased. I think that everybody needs to keep up and track the latest technologies. You might not be able to use it, you might not be able to afford some of it, but you need to know what the best of the best are using. Otherwise, you're going to get buried. So is there anybody else that has comments related to overall HR and the use with technology? Zephyr, did you have any comments?
No, not for this time, sorry.
Okay, well, we can leave early, but I like this topic. I'm going to keep talking about it. Before we have people starting to leave the class, we're going to be finishing soon. I want to check a few things first. The idea, I think you guys can still see my screen. Can Ozbek, can you identify what are the awards that your classmates may qualify for?
Yes, we can get extra.
Can you say that again, please? Or just
maybe we can get extra points.
What are the classifications that some people in our class can qualify to win an award?
There is only versions that best presentation, best research project, highest activity, and most practice.
Yes, please make sure everybody is doing the evaluation form and you're writing down names of students that you think, or a team that you think should be winning this. There's several teams in our class. Make sure you go through, identify the team or whatever the project is. And related to that, you can generally only do that if you list your projects here. So I don't see everybody listing their projects here. Make sure everybody has their project shared in the class Facebook group. What about Solinda? Is your link shared here for your final file?
For what? Sorry.
Is your Google Drive folder link that has your final presentation details, is that link shared in the Facebook group?
Normally I share my document and my PowerPoint already in on Facebook page.
Project, is it already shared here?
Yes.
Great. And Guillaume Lecar, same question to you.
No, we don't.
Your presentation here. Thank you, Tobias and Ozbek. Your presentation is here. Solinda, yes, your presentation is here. My question, for example, Guillaume Lecar, are you here and do you have your presentation already shared with the group?
No, we don't share our presentations, but we will do for Thursday, I think.
It should be shared now. It doesn't need to be the final presentation. It can be a link to the presentation, and that allows you to use the technology. We're talking about AI is now very advanced technology, but Google Documents, it's not really AI, but it allows you to share information with other people even before you're finished, and you can continue to upgrade it. And you can get other people to give comments to help you upgrade it. If you're working on your own, if you're working without the benefit of technology, you cannot do as well as people that do. So post your bloody projects here, the link to your project. You can still have your project linked here and still make changes or upgrade it. So there should be nobody writing that we'll do it later, we'll do it on the final day, we're still making changes. That's not an excuse. That shows you don't understand a main thing we were teaching. With that said, thank you very much, guys. Again, lots of candies here for all you and